Section 1. The Power of Subtlety, Why Nagging Never Works. Let's face it, ladies, outright demands rarely get us what we want. In fact, they often have the opposite effect, leaving us frustrated and our partners feeling cornered. There's a better way to navigate the delicate dance of relationships and get your man to happily do what you'd like. It's about harnessing the power of subtle influence. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how much more receptive someone is to an idea when they think it's their own? That's the magic we're about to unlock. Get ready to say goodbye to frustration and hello to a world where your desires are met with enthusiasm and a genuine belief that they were his idea all along. Section 2. Planting Seeds of Thought. It's all about his idea. The key to subtle influence lies in understanding that men, like anyone, value their autonomy. Direct orders trigger resistance, making them feel controlled. Instead of issuing commands, we're going to learn how to gently guide his thoughts in the right direction. By focusing on the positive and framing your desires as expressions of appreciation, you're subtly encouraging the behavior you want without making him defensive. Remember, the goal is to make him feel like he's coming up with these brilliant ideas on his own. It's a win-win situation. Section 3. Mastering the Art of Suggestion, Real-Life Examples. Let's dive into some real-life scenarios to illustrate how this works. Say you've been dying to try that new Italian restaurant downtown. Instead of declaring, "We're going to that new Italian place tonight," try a more suggestive approach. Mention how much you've been craving Italian food lately. Talk about how much you admire couples who try new things together. By dropping these hints, you're subtly planting the seed in his mind, making it more likely he'll suggest it himself. These are just a few examples of how subtle suggestions can work wonders in your relationship. Let's be honest, ladies, men can be stubborn, and nothing triggers their stubborn streak more than feeling like they're being told what to do. It's like a knee-jerk reaction. The minute they sense a demand, their defenses go up. Think about it. How do you feel when someone tries to boss you around? Not great, right? You probably resist, even if deep down you know they have a point. Well, men are no different. They want to feel like they're in control, that their opinions matter. Instead of battling against this resistance, let's learn how to work with it. The secret to getting your man to do what you want? Make him think it was his idea all along. I know it sounds crazy, but trust me on this one. Remember how we talked about men valuing their autonomy? Well, this taps right into that. When a man believes he's come up with the solution, he owns it. He's invested, he's excited to see it through. It's about gently nudging him in the right direction, dropping hints, and creating an environment where he naturally arrives at the right conclusion. Your conclusion. It's about understanding male psychology and using that knowledge to create a more harmonious, fulfilling relationship. Think of yourself as a master gardener, and your desires are the seeds. Instead of yanking your partner's hand and forcing him to plant them your way, you're going to scatter those seeds subtly, strategically. You're going to create fertile ground for those ideas to take root and blossom on their own. Instead of approaching situations with a demanding energy, you need to do this. We adopt a more suggestive approach. Wouldn't it be nice if it's about creating a collaborative environment where you work together as a team to achieve shared goals? Let's talk about a little psychological principle called the law of reciprocity. It's a fancy way of saying that people naturally feel obligated to return favors. When someone does something nice for us, we feel compelled to do something nice in return. By being thoughtful and generous ourselves, we create a positive cycle of reciprocity. These small gestures go a long way in building goodwill and making him more receptive to your subtle suggestions later on. It's about cultivating a spirit of generosity and mutual appreciation in your relationship. We humans are social creatures. We look to others for cues on how to behave, especially when we're unsure of something. This is where social proof comes into play. Simply put, we're more likely to do something if we see others doing it, especially if those others are people we admire or identify with. By surrounding him with positive examples, you're subtly shifting his perception of what's normal and desirable. This next technique is a classic persuasion tactic, and for good reason. It works. The foot in the door technique is all about getting someone to agree to a small request, which then makes them more likely to agree to a larger request later on. Think of it like building momentum. Once someone has said yes once, they're more likely to say yes again, especially if the second request is related to the first. The key here is to make the initial request small and easily doable. You want him to feel successful, like he's a helpful partner. This builds his confidence and makes him more receptive to your future suggestions. Section 4. Tapping into his inner hero. Make him feel indispensable. Deep down, men have a primal urge to be the hero. They want to feel needed, respected, and admired for their strength and capability. How do we tap into this inner hero? It's all about framing our requests in a way that makes him feel like the solution to our problems. You're acknowledging his skills and making him feel like the only one who can solve this problem. By highlighting his strengths and making him feel valued, you're not only getting what you want, you're also boosting his ego and strengthening your bond. Section 1. The artful conversation, weaving suggestions seamlessly. Now that we understand the psychology behind subtle influence, let's talk about how to actually integrate it into our everyday conversations. The key here is subtlety. We want our suggestions to flow naturally, almost as if they were his idea in the first place. Avoid blunt statements or demands. Instead, opt for open-ended questions and gentle nudges. By incorporating your suggestions seamlessly into casual conversation, you're planting seeds without him even realizing it. Section 2. Storytelling, subtly leading by example. Stories are powerful tools of influence. We're hardwired to pay attention to them, to learn from them, and to be moved by them. Use this to your advantage. Instead of directly asking him to be more thoughtful, share a story about a couple you know who always exchange heartfelt gifts. These seemingly casual remarks seep into his subconscious, making him more likely to consider similar actions. Remember, it's about planting seeds, not hitting him over the head with a shovel. Section 3. The power of positive reinforcement. Catch him being good. Remember Pavlov's dogs? They learned to associate a bell with food, and eventually, the bell alone made them salivate. We can use a similar principle called positive reinforcement to encourage desired behavior in our men. Did he take out the trash without being asked? Express your genuine appreciation. A simple thank you for taking out the trash, babe. The key here is to be specific and sincere with your praise. This positive reinforcement creates a powerful association in his mind, making him more likely to repeat the behavior in the future. Section 4. Framing for mutual benefit. It's a win-win. Men are more likely to be on board with your suggestions if they see a benefit for themselves. This doesn't mean you need to bribe them or constantly cater to their needs. It simply means framing your requests in a way that highlights the win-win scenario. By highlighting the shared benefits, you're subtly shifting his perspective from doing you a favor to doing something beneficial for both of you. Remember, a happy relationship is a two-way street. Section 5. Practice makes perfect. Mastering the subtle touch. Mastering the art of subtle influence takes practice. Don't get discouraged if you don't see results overnight. Like any new skill, it requires patience, consistency, and a willingness to experiment. The key is to be observant, adaptable, and above all, authentic. So go forth and unleash the power of subtle influence. Remember how we talked about planting seeds? Let's see it in action. Imagine Sarah, who's desperate for a weekend getaway with her boyfriend, Mark. She's tried the direct approach. Mark, we really need a vacation. I'm stressed, you're stressed, let's book something. But Mark, always busy with work, brushes it off. Now, armed with the power of subtle influence, Sarah changes her strategy. One evening, while flipping through a travel magazine, strategically placed of course, she casually mentions, "Wow, this bed and breakfast looks so charming. Wouldn't it be amazing to wake up to that view?" Mark, initially engrossed in his phone, glances up. Sarah continues, "Remember that couple we met, the ones who go on those little adventures every month? I bet that keeps things exciting." A few days later, Sarah finds Mark looking at weekend getaways on his laptop. "Hey," he says, "remember that B&B you liked? They have availability next month, what do you think? Sarah, trying to contain her excitement, casually replies, "Oh wow, that's a great idea. You're so good at planning these things. See how that worked? No demands, no arguments, just subtle suggestions that led Mark to believe he was the mastermind behind the whole plan." This is the power of subtle influence in action. By understanding Mark's need for autonomy and framing her desire in a way that appealed to him, Sarah successfully navigated a potential conflict and achieved her desired outcome. While subtle influence can be incredibly effective, there are a few common pitfalls that can trip us up. First and foremost, remember that men are not mind readers. While we might think our hints are crystal clear, men often miss the subtext. If you find yourself saying, "It's like he doesn't even listen to me," take a step back and assess your approach. Are you being too vague? Are you assuming he'll connect the dots when you haven't provided all the dots? Another common mistake is sending mixed messages. Let's say you're hoping he'll plan a romantic dinner. You drop hints about craving Italian food, but then you spend all evening complaining about how much you hate his favorite Italian restaurant. Confusing, right? Be consistent with your signals and make sure your words and actions are aligned. Otherwise, you risk sending him on a wild goose chase, leaving both of you frustrated and no closer to your desired outcome. Finally, remember that subtle influence is not about manipulation or trickery. It's about open and honest communication, even if it's not always direct. If you're constantly resorting to sneaky tactics, you're not building a healthy foundation for a lasting relationship. Sometimes, direct communication is necessary. If something is really important to you, don't be afraid to have an open and honest conversation about it. But remember, even direct communication can be delivered with tact and respect for your partner's autonomy. Before we wrap up, let's address the elephant in the room. Is subtle influence just a fancy way of saying manipulation? The short answer is no, but it's a fine line, and it all comes down to intention. Manipulation involves deceit, coercion, and a disregard for the other person's feelings and autonomy. It's about getting what you want, even if it means hurting or taking advantage of someone else. That's not what we're about. Subtle influence, when used ethically, is about understanding your partner's psychology and using that knowledge to guide them towards a mutually beneficial outcome. It's about fostering a deeper connection, improving communication, and creating a more harmonious relationship. Think of it like this. Imagine you're teaching a child to ride a bike. You wouldn't just shove them down a hill and yell, "Pedal!" You'd hold on to the bike, run alongside them, and offer encouragement and support every step of the way. That's what subtle influence is all about. Gentle guidance, patience, and a genuine desire to see your partner succeed. It's about working together as a team, respecting each other's needs and boundaries, and celebrating your victories together. Remember, a healthy relationship is built on a foundation of trust, respect, and open communication. Use these techniques ethically and authentically, and watch as your relationship blossoms into something truly special. So there you have it, ladies. We've journeyed through the fascinating world of subtle influence, uncovering the secrets to guiding your man towards the outcomes you desire, all while preserving his ego and strengthening your bond. Remember, it's not about manipulation or trickery. It's about understanding male psychology and using that knowledge to create a more harmonious and fulfilling relationship. Embrace the art of suggestion, master the power of positive reinforcement, and always strive for mutually beneficial solutions. Remember those seeds we talked about? Keep planting them with patience and love, and watch as your relationship blossoms into something truly extraordinary. As you navigate the ups and downs of love, remember that effective communication is the foundation of any successful partnership. By mastering these subtle yet powerful techniques, you're not just getting what you want, you're fostering a deeper connection, enhancing intimacy, and creating a love story where both partners feel heard, valued, and cherished. Now go forth and unleash the power of subtle influence. You might be surprised at how easily you can create the relationship of your dreams, one subtle suggestion at a time.